I know some of you have been commenting about what's happened with the Beast or where's the next video in the series. Well, unfortunately, I just don't have a lot of time to work on this car. You know, I was hoping this past summer I could get to this sunroof because the sunroof has got a number of problems, and there might be some things here that you could learn if you have one of these older Mercedes-Benzes with the sliding sunroof. Now, the basic sunroof design that you see here on this 6.3 was the same from the late 60s right up until 1985-86 when they went to a tilting sunroof. Now, the tilting sunroof mechanism is a lot different, but for these old non-tilting sliding power sunroofs, they're virtually the same. The problems are the same. Even the seals, some of the seals on most of these are the same. But I want to move in now here and show you what problem I'm having mechanically and explain one of the problems I'm having with the sunroof cosmetically. I'm inside the car now, and I'm going to go ahead and power the roof with a button on the dash. Hear it? Groaning. Now that means I know the motor's running, and since the sunroof is trying to move, my cable's probably okay. Look, now as I go back a little bit further, it's starting to move. But if I want to close it, I'm going to have to take my hand here and push like this, but it's jamming right there. Now let's run it back again. Okay, see that? It's really working. I can hear the clutch slipping back in the trunk. So I'm going to take my hand here and I'm going to power it and push at the same time, and I can get the sunroof to open all the way. Now, that's a good sign because it means I got a working motor and probably a good cable, but I'm sure some of you know why this is moving so slowly. That's right, lack of lubrication. It's probably all gummed up in the tracks. Now let me talk about some of the cosmetic problems I'm having, and it's not the rust here, okay? I know the rust is very obvious, but there's something else that I'm having some difficulty with. Eventually, I'm going to want to replace the seals in the sunroof assembly. There's a rubber seal here in the front. There is another rubber seal at the back attached to the rear of the roof. And then on both sides are these felt seals that the roof slides up and seals up against. What happens with these is after time they just start to deteriorate. You can see that felt material starts to just flake off. Now some people might think that this seal is used to seal water or to keep water out of the car, and that's not true. There's a trough down in here that collects the water and drains it out of the track assembly and down on the ground. This seal here is primarily for two reasons. Number one, cosmetic, and number two, to reduce wind noise. So when this starts to fall apart, like this one here, you might start to get some excessive wind noise from inside the car. I'm going to show you another one that I recently removed from another older Mercedes, and this is what happens to them. See that? They just literally fall apart. Now the problem I'm having is just recently we found out that this part here is no longer made. Oh man. Just think of how many Mercedes out there are going to need this part. All those power sunroofs from the late 60s up to the mid 80s. So let me show you what I've been working on. I've been trying to find a solution by using a different type of seal. It's a little bit challenging. It will work. It may not be exactly the same here as the original. This is the original seal here. When we found out this was no longer going to be made, we kind of hoarded 4 or 5 sets of these for our own cars, and they'll stay in our possession. But you can see that it has this piece of aluminum along the bottom edge, and notice how thick this kind of felt material is. See, it's almost 1/4 of an inch thick, and you can squeeze it down. See that? You can squeeze it down to probably 1/8 of an inch. So this is very moldable when the sunroof closes. Now the material I'm trying to replace this with is a different seal from a different car. Now when you look at it from here, you can kind of see it. It looks very similar, but notice it's taller, and that presents a little bit of a problem. And if you look at the side, look at the difference. See that? This replacement seal that I'm working on only has felt on this side. So what this means is it's not quite as moldable as the original. So it's a little bit harder to fit, but when it's in there and you look at it from this side alone, cosmetically, you don't even notice the difference. Now, I've already installed this in 2 different chassis, and I'm going to go ahead and see how it fits a 108 and 109 chassis. And then I'm going to report back whether or not I think this is going to work, and I'll provide a kit with these parts. And it's actually going to be considerably less expensive than these parts were just a few months ago. These were approaching what I would consider astronomical prices before they went off the market. I'm going to pull these screws out. There's 4 of them along here, and I'll be able to pull this seal out on this side, and then I'll be able to compare the fit. I'm going to probably mess around with this a couple hours this afternoon, and hopefully I can come back in the next couple days and report back whether or not this replacement seal is going to do the job or not. I'll go ahead, and if I'm successful, I'll go ahead and install it in this 6.3 and then come back and show you how it looks. And you can be the judge as to whether or not this is an acceptable replacement. And by the way, if you're having problems with your older sunroof, I have written a manual that takes you through a bunch of steps on how to remove the roof, lubricate everything, grease the cable, pull the cable out, adjust the clutch, and so on. I won't be going over all those details in this video, but if you're not familiar with those procedures, check out this manual that's available on my website. And hopefully within a week, I'll get back to you and let you know how well this is going to work, if it's going to work at all.